I have some great Malkin's moments for you. A lot of Malkin's moments for you. A lot from this postseason, but even in college basketball, both on the women's and on the men's side, want to stay tuned for that. So the first is I touched on this. I highlighted this at the beginning of the broadcast. This is the first time in NFL history where in the divisional round, and really for any postseason round, 4 games featured a game-winning field goal or a walk-off score to win the game. We had never seen it before in the NFL playoffs. Obviously, the Bengals, I just touched on it, game-winning field goal to upset the Titans. Robbie Gould, game-winning field goal for the 49ers to upset the Packers. Matt Gay, game-winning field goal to knock off the defending champ Super Bowl Bucks. And then we had the overtime touchdown, Mahomes to Kelsey for the Chiefs to knock off the Bills. We had never seen that. For the Rams, not only did they walk it off 30-27, this was the 43rd game-winning drive in the fourth quarter or overtime of Matthew Stafford's career, which is the most of anyone since he's entered the NFL in 2009. I know he's been maligned. I know he's been cast aside for all those years of ineptitude or appeared ineptitude in Detroit. The fact that he only reached the postseason 3 times, was 0 for 3 in those postseason games. He had been ridiculed. He has stepped up. According to Elias Sports Bureau, the only other team, by the way, than the Rams to lose a 24-point lead in a playoff game and still win was the Chargers in 1981. The Rams looked like they were about to have the biggest collapse that I'd seen in the postseason. They managed to bounce back, and they became the first team to win a playoff game after losing 4 or more fumbles since the 1975 Pittsburgh Steelers, who won the AFC Championship game against the Raiders despite 4 fumbles. We all remember that was the immaculate catch, I believe, the immaculate reception where Terry Bradshaw, it caroms off the back of a couple DBs of the Raiders, falls in the hands of Franco Harris, and he runs it into the end zone. That was an all-time great game in the NFL. And the Rams were the NFC seeds, number 4 seed, and they finished obviously with a 12-5 record. The only other team seeded 4th or lower to host a conference championship game since 1990 was the 2008 Arizona Cardinals, who were also the number 4 seed. Sticking with the Rams, Cooper Kupp, who set up the Rams game-winning field goal, he broke a Rams franchise record for the most receiving yards in a playoff game, 9 receptions, 183 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, he became the 4th wide receiver to win the Triple Crown this past season for the most receptions, most receiving yards, the most receiving touchdowns. His fantastic season is just continuing. And the 49ers upset, obviously, the Packers on the road 13-10. This was the first blocked punt return for a touchdown in 49ers playoff history. They had never collected one of those in the history, in the storied franchise of the San Francisco 49ers. The fact that this is a first for them is incredible. And the Niners became the first team since 1988. The Buffalo Bills did this in 1988 to block a punt and a field goal in the same playoff game. And San Francisco also became just the 4th team to win a postseason contest without an offensive touchdown since 2000. Remember, the 13 points were delivered off 2 field goals, two field goals, and a defensive touchdown, defensive special teams touchdown. Absolutely incredible. And so big shout out to them. Big shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, they collect their first AFC Championship game appearance since 1988, thanks to Evan McPherson. It's their first road playoff win in franchise history. Think about that. And Burrow was sacked 9 times, which tied the most in a playoff game in the Super Bowl era, and yet they still managed to overcome it and win. And their star wide receiver, Jamar Chase, continues to break records. He became the youngest NFL player, the youngest player in NFL history with multiple 100-yard receiving games. So the guy continues to shatter the record. And now transitioning to some other sports, talking about shattering records, LeBron James last week collected his 10,000th rebound of his NBA career, became the first player ever in the history of the game to record 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 9,000 assists. We haven't seen it. Came last week in the loss to the Indiana Pacers. He's having an historic season. let alone setting aside the fact that he's in year 19. In women's basketball, at the college level, Iowa Hawkeyes basketball player Caitlin Clark became the first Division I basketball player ever to post back-to-back 30-point triple doubles. The Hawkeyes are 12-4 right now. They won 5 straight games against Nebraska in a 93-83 win. She dropped 31 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. And then on the road at Minnesota, in which they beat the Gophers by 59 points, she drops 31 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. We've never seen at the Division I level. And speaking of things we've never seen at the Division I level in women's basketball, Kansas State's Ayoka Lee set the women's Division I record for the most points in a game. As Kansas City and the Wildcats, they knocked off the Oklahoma Sooners, who were ranked number 14, 94-65. She dropped 61 points. 61 points for Lee. It's spectacular. Final 2 quick ones. I know I'm going over. Steph Curry hit his first game winner at the buzzer in his career to knock off the Houston Rockets 105-103. He had a laugh about it after the game. He's had some game winners, but never legitimately at the buzzer. That was the first of his career. And then finally, the Bills obviously lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Chiefs in overtime last night, 42-36. But the Bills wide receiver Gabriel Davis set an NFL postseason record with 4 receiving touchdowns. All 4 of Allen's touchdowns went to Davis, who also had 201 receiving yards. He's the first player in NFL history to accomplish that. And when you think of the depth of the NFL, all the tremendous players that have come, the Jerry Rices, the Randy Moss, the Terrell Owens, just you can go down the list. And the fact that Gabriel Davis is the first guy to receive 4 NFL receiving touchdowns in a game, tremendous performance by him. All right, that's all the time that I got for today. Thank you so much for joining me right here on Morning Joe every single Monday and Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube page, Morning Joe, J-O, with Jonah Malkin. Follow me on Twitter, Jonah Malkin, or at morning_Joe_. Instagram, JMalkin97, TikTok, Jonah Malkin. And as always, have a lovely rest of your morning.